Hey everybody, it's James here from the Sawyer Family Reviews channel and ActionFeatures.net, bringing you another Marvel Legends X-Men review. This time around, it's the guy that's the best there is at what he does, even though what he does isn't very nice. Wolverine from the Marvel Legends Retro X-Men wave. Let's check him out. As always, we'll start things off. We'll look at the figure in the package first. And oh, what packaging it is. I love this old packaging. I'm so happy that Hasbro's doing these lines. Wolverine here is part of the Marvel Legends Retro series. These pay homage to the original Toy Biz X-Men action figures of the 90s, stuff that I grew up on. I was a teenager, so I wasn't like a little guy growing up on them, but I was an older kid growing up on them. I love this line. I was so excited about each figure that came out, and this packaging really drew me in. Now, the first two waves of retro figures from Marvel Legends paid homage to the original Toy Biz Marvel Superheroes packaging. We got a Wolverine in that line, whereas there was never actually a Wolverine that came out on this card back, so that was kind of strange. But Wolverines did come out on this packaging, but never this Wolverine. I'm going to show you a original Toy Biz brown costume Wolverine, the first Wolverine Toy Biz ever did. So this is what they're paying homage to with this orange and red card back, the Big Uncanny X-Men logo in silver and blue, the character's name down below with like a stripe that's kind of going into dots, even though it's going in two opposite directions here. Then we've got a little feature blurb here, whereas the feature blurb was here before with snap-out claws. And this says Muramasa Blade, and then a few different languages. Then we've got the Marvel 80 Years logo instead of the Marvel corner box, like on this original Toy Biz packaging. On the back of the card, show them both together. So we've got the same yellow and white kind of motif going on, but there's a much bigger character selection on the old Toy Biz packaging, and there's much more room to talk about things, whereas there's all of this different language stuff nowadays, where they do just one card back for all the different foreign markets. So we don't get as much information on these new card backs as we did the old card backs, but this is still really cool, and the minute I see this, I'm taken back to my childhood. I'm very excited about this line. I don't usually do a ton of things where I do both carded and loose, but these I'm going to do a carded set and a loose set just because they're so cool. And these figures meant so much to me as a kid. I'm going to read this real quick to you here, what it says in the back. Wolverine is the X-Men's greatest fighter, a master of all forms of hand-to-hand combat. Wolverine also has a fearsome secret weapon, razor-sharp, retractable adamantium claws that can slice through anything. And then the other figures they're showing on the back here are the other ones from the X-Men Retro wave, which are White Costume Storm, Dazzler in her late 80s, 90s outfit, Iceman, Silver Samurai, and Cyclops in his X-Factor attire. So, I can't say enough good things about the packaging. I like this so much more than the regular Marvel Legends packaging. The card backs are also really thick and durable. It's kind of tough to get the figure out of there because the bubble's actually sealed behind a piece of cardboard. It's not like where it's just glued onto the card. It's actually the card is glued onto a card, and then this piece is glued on top of it. So the bubble itself is contained. You actually have to kind of cut these guys out. I really like this artwork here, too. I like dedicated artwork on packaging. So this whole thing is just awesome packaging. Yeah, we don't get a Build-A-Figure part in there, but the presentation on these guys is so awesome. But we got to see what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and open this one up, and let's take a look at it. Okay, let's start with Wolverine's accessories first, and then we'll move on to the figure itself. First of all, he comes with 2 extra hands. Now, a bit of a bummer with mine is I got 2 left hands. I would only assume that this is meant to be a right and a left, and they goofed up, but I got 2 left ones. It's not a huge deal for me because, I mean, it's Wolverine. I'm going to display him with the claws on anyway, and I do still at least have one to grip his other accessory, but, yeah, I got 2 left hands here. The other interesting thing on these hands is that the figure itself, with the claws out, is the normal hand sculpt that Wolverines come with, where it is the coverings on the knuckles and the blades pop in and out of the hands. Ordinarily, Wolverines come with an extra set of hands that are fists, so they have those coverings sculpted onto the hands. These are not original Wolverine hands, though. They wanted to give him something to grasp the blade. So these gloved hands don't actually have the coverings on the knuckles like these hands do. He was drawn both with them and without them in the comic, so it's not like it's super inaccurate or something. It's just interesting to note that if you had one in and one out, you'd have one claw or one hand with coverings and one without coverings. The other accessory, obviously, that I've been talking about is the Muramasa blade, which is one of the only things that can negate Wolverine's healing factor. It's molded in black plastic. It's got a nice gray paint app on the handle. It's a nice sword. It's nothing to write home about, nothing super intricate. The sculpting on the handle's nice, and it's the right size, and it fits into this hand pretty well. I only have, again, the one hand, but I would assume that it would fit both hands at the same time, because the handle's nice and long. But again, I've got two left hands. And switching out hands is as easy on other Wolverines as it is here. There's actually a little separate piece that's the cuffs for the glove, and that piece pops off, so just be careful not to lose that when you're switching out hands. And then this one pops right on. And the hands that you pop off are just like the other Wolverines, where you can pull the blades out of the claws out of the hands. I'm not going to do that, because once you pull them out, it's tough to get them in straight. And right now, mine look pretty straight. I like the way they look. A lot of times, these Wolverines with these skinny claws, their blades will kind of, I keep saying blades, the claws will actually be sort of distorted and all over the place. And these look pretty nice and straight right now, so I'm not going to mess with them. I'm not going to pull them out of there. Let's cover his articulation real quick, and we're going to talk about the figure itself. If you've seen the other Wolverines, you kind of know what you're getting here. It's the same basic body as the Wolverines we've gotten so far. This one's really close to the Retro Series Wolverine in that he's got these smooth sculpt arms, so he doesn't have that like scarring looking thing where they're trying to do the hairs on his arms. He's got a rocker ankle that then hinges up and down like that. I'm going to back this up just a little bit so you make sure I don't lose you guys. He's got a double knee joint that goes all the way back to there. He's got rotation at the top of the hip. Then he's got hips that go out to there. And then they can move forward to here and back to here. Not very much movement in the back, but he can go forward pretty well. There is no cut at the mid-calf for the boot. But what's interesting is that most of the figure is in this like sort of flat black, and there's a glossy paint app on the boot. So even though he doesn't have a cut joint here and it's not a separate sculpt or anything, he does have this black coloring here. I think maybe these lower legs are the ones they used on Weapon X, if I'm not mistaken. Back to the articulation, he's got a waist joint, and that doesn't have a ton of movement. It's kind of hindered. Oh, I take that back. He's going all the way around now. It was just kind of stuck. It was sort of hindered by the belt piece, I think, but you can get it up above his waist a little bit and you can get full rotation there. Then he's got an ab crunch that goes back to there, or forward to there. He's got the butterfly shoulders, which can go back to here, or forward to here. A lot of movement there. That's awesome. Then he's got rotation at the shoulder that then hinges up to there. He's got rotation at the top bicep. He's got a double elbow joint that can go to there. Rotation at the wrist, and then they hinge in and out. And then head movement, he can look up to there. He can go down to there. And then it's mounted on a ball joint. So you get a little bit of side to side, but it rotates all the way around. So a very articulated figure, especially for his size. Wolverine is one of the shorter Marvel Legends figures, but there's a lot going on with articulation with this guy. Alright, I've already explained to you about the body. It's mostly a reuse. Let's get a closer look at that head sculpt. So the head on Wolverine is one of the only new elements on the figure itself. The head is modeled after the look from the Wolverine series itself when he was in Madripoor, and he would wear this stocking mask over his eyes. In a minute here, we're going to talk about the outfit itself when I back it up more, and I'll actually bring out a book to show you what I'm talking about. So this head sculpt is all new. He's got a screaming face. He's got this nice blue highlighting in the hair, which very much reminds me of the vintage comics where they would draw sort of blue highlights in the hair. The mask itself is just painted on over the face, and the original pictures of this figure, it wasn't quite this thick. It's almost completely black in person. I wish it was a little bit more like the prototype. So this one, it seems really dark and doesn't seem like a mesh stocking or whatever it is that he was wearing then. It really just kind of feels like a black fabric mask. There is a nice gray underneath it, and then a sort of speckled pattern on top that's trying to give you the illusion of it, but it's a little too dark in the final product. I still really like it, and I never thought I'd get a Wolverine with that mask, but I just wish it was a little bit on the lighter side. Now, the other head that a lot of people may want to use for this figure is the patch head. And that comes with the Legendary Rider set, because at this time in the comics is when he was going under the patch persona, and he wore this outfit in the Wolverine series. So a lot of people will want to put the patch head with this figure. I don't think, though, that he ever wore this outfit with the patch on. I think it was either no patch and no mask over his eyes, or with the mask over his eyes, but I don't believe there was a time where he wore the black shirt and the black pants, red belt and all that stuff, with the patch over his eye. Let's grab this off of here, though, just to show you guys what it looks like on there. If I can get him to pop off. There we go. There we go. It does look really cool, though. I mean, that is a neat look, and that is more reminiscent of the actual Toy Biz patch Wolverine, which I think was part of the Battle Brigade line. So he had a patch over his eye, and he wore the black outfit on that figure. But to my knowledge, I don't remember him really wearing the patch and this outfit at the same time. But it is still a cool look. Let's throw another Wolverine head on there. Let's pop this guy off. And we'll put on the other Legendary Rider's Wolverine head with like the swept back hair. And that's pretty cool. I mean, that's kind of neat looking. I think the winner is going to be when this head comes out with the Cowboy Wolverine and doesn't have this stuff over its eyes. I think that at that point, that's when the head I'm going to put on here. Yeah, I think that's what's going to do it for me. Let's pop this back off of here and do one more, and that's the Retro Series Wolverine head. If I can get it to pop on here. This head's always really tight. Yeah. That's kind of cool looking too. I think I like that one better than the windswept back. The camera will focus here. I think I like that one better than the swept back hair from the Legendary Riders, but the patch one actually looks cooler than that one, and the one with the nylon mask makes more sense. So for me, I'm going to wait it out. I'm just going to use the one he comes with for now. Although the patch look is interesting, it doesn't really remind me of how he looked in this outfit. And just wait it out for the Cowboy Wolverine. All right, let's take a look at some comparisons. I also want to show you reference from the comics on this. Wolverine next to some other Wolverine figures and some other figures that sort of relate to Wolverine in a second for some scale reference. But first, I wanted to talk to you guys about this outfit. Now, for those unfamiliar with it, this Wolverine costume, as I've said earlier in the video, is from a lot of his early appearances in the Wolverine comic. And a lot of those appearances you can find here in this Wolverine Epic Collection, Madripoor Nights. This is Volume 1. It is $35, but contains a lot of books. This is Wolverine 1 through 16, Marvel Comics Presents 1 through 10, Marvel Age Annual number 4. As you can see on the back, he's wearing his black costume, and he's fighting Silver Samurai, which is another figure from this wave. Sometimes when I get new toys, I like to go back and read some comics based on those figures and stuff. So if you're getting this figure and want to know more about him in this outfit, pick up this Epic Collection. It's really cool. So here is a shot of Wolverine in this outfit with that mesh mask over his eyes, which is what's represented here. And then later on, the outfit gets a little more refined. You can see the red belt and still wearing the mesh mask there. So that's where that comes from. It's cool to me because I really liked reading these books as a kid when they were first hitting shelves. And to have a figure of it's awesome. Let's look at him next to some other Wolverines and stuff. Before we get going on the comparisons, I almost forgot to show you how tall Wolverine is. Now, I've got him standing up straight here. And Wolverine is usually hunkered down. Like you want to have him feral and kind of crouch down against the ground. But standing up straight, he's just about at a little over 5 1/4 inches tall. So, pretty short for a 6-inch scale figure, and that's what he should be, because Wolverine is only like 5'2", 5'3". Let's get him next to some other Wolverines here. Let's bring in the two Wolverines he shares the most parts with. I don't have the Juggernaut series handy. I do have it, but I just have the retro one sitting over here. So the retro Wolverine / Juggernaut Wolverine, he shares the most parts with it. For the most part, the body is a reuse between the two of these. The only elements that are different and new are this head is new, completely new sculpt. I already talked to you about that. And the lower legs are from the Weapon X Wolverine, which has the smooth legs and no articulation because he's meant to be naked, basically. So there was no cut line at the legs, and they've used these to mimic the smooth boot look he has in the comic books. Now, let's get a couple other ones over here. I'm going to bring in the Legendary Riders Wolverine with the patch head on. I've got a custom jacket on him. I really love this. These two together is just screaming my childhood to me and reading Wolverine comics, because he was wearing this when he was doing his like regular plain clothes, investigating and all that kind of stuff, and then when he was doing his super sneaky mission stuff, he was wearing this. He would go back between these two looks in those early Wolverine comics I just showed you. So to me, that's awesome. Next up, we'll see him next to Sabretooth, so you get a good idea of just how small Wolverine is compared to some of his main villains and some of the other characters in the Marvel Legends line. As you can see, he's much shorter. And the last comparison I want to do is him and Jubilee, because right at around this time, Jubilee is getting introduced in the X-Men comics, and Psylocke is showing up, and she's like the assassin ninja character, and Wolverine briefly wears this costume in X-Men at the same time as Jubilee is kind of in the story, and they're becoming really close friends. So seeing these two together, that's awesome. I do want to get that head that comes with the Cowboy Wolverine before I put these two together, though. It doesn't make as much sense with this eye covering. It would look better without the eye covering on there. Okay, so final thoughts on this figure. It's a bummer that I got stuck with two left hands, yeah. The Muramasa blade is neat, but I really don't need it that much. I don't really care about the Muramasa blade as much as I do about this figure itself. But the figure itself, to me, is a home run. A lot of people are thinking he's kind of the weak member of the wave, but as a kid that grew up on these comics, this is an awesome figure for me. He's around 20 bucks retail. He comes on an awesome vintage card back. Put that in there behind him. To me, you can't go wrong with this guy. It's an awesome figure. Well, I love all the Wolverines they're doing, so to me, I'm always going to pick up one and probably be happy that I spent my 20 bucks on it. No, it is not the most iconic outfit for Wolverine. If you only need a couple of Wolverines on display, this is probably not one that you need, but to me, he's awesome. As always, there'll be a small gallery link below in the info section if you're watching this over at YouTube. If you're watching this at actionfeatures.net, you've already seen the gallery. I don't know what's up next. I think I'm going to tackle that Puck Build-A-Figure, and then maybe jump back into a Marvel Select, maybe Juggernaut or something. I don't know. We'll see. If you like the videos, please click like and subscribe and notify. Leave a comment down below. Like I said, recently YouTube just wiped out a ton of my comments on all my videos, and they still have no explanation as to why they did it. So any comments that you leave now, if you left comments before and I haven't interacted with you in a while, it's because all the comments are gone. So there you go. Okay, see you guys next time.